Hello, Jeremy here. For this video, we're going to add in what is called multiplexing. Multiplexing is the ability to switch from one source to another. You can think of this as if you have a cable TV and a DVD player, but only one screen. Multiplexing is the ability to switch between cable TV or the DVD player and see them on the screen, although not at the same time. Alright, so we're going to be adding this multiplexing ability to the presenter program, and my idea is that I want to do something like being able to put in like multiple files, so we can go title screen for an episode, then do episode text, and maybe even like an ending, something like that. But the idea is we can chain these together and switch between them when we need to. So that's the idea. All right, let's go to links. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is make this so we have file names. We're going to have at least one file name, but there could be multiple, and we want them in a list. And this is how you would do it in Python, but I need to show you how this operates. So let's save that out and go into the repo. So when we have a list of things, of elements, let's go 0, 1, 2. So you can take what they call slices of a list. So normally when we index, for instance, that's kind of hard to see. Let's make this numbers. So let's use the we go numbers of 1. You see that's 1. And I made the numbers, their index. That way you could see exactly what the indexes are. Now, the notation that I use is the slice notation. The slice notation means that we want to take a slice out of the list. So I take a slice from 1 to 2. It will be a list of 1. If I take it from 1 to 3, it'll be a list of 1 to 2, 1 to 4, 1 to 3. Now this may seem to be a little weird. But the way I see it is when you take a slice from 1 to a particular number, it's taking a slice kind of the last number minus 1, so 1 to 4. So in this case, this is 1 to 5. I'm not exactly sure why it's 1 less, why they decided to do this, but that's what it seems to be. Is it goes 1 through 4, the elements 1 through 4, even though it's 5. So we say 6, we should get all the elements from 1. So when you omit it, this just means the rest of the list. So from element 1 to the rest of the list. From element 2, the rest of the list, element 3. All right. So that's how slicing works. You can also use -1. -1, when you index off the -1, it goes to the end of the list. So it's -1 is the last element, the second from last, third from last, etc. So negative indexing goes from the end of the list and goes backwards. All right. You can also do this, which copies the list. I will explain the intricacies between referencing a list and a copy of the list later. But I want to get on with the program. Okay, now here we are taking the list, like the second element of the list, element 1, and the rest of the list. So we look at this on the command line. This will be, come on, let's quit out of this. So the first element here, our element index 0 is Python. Index 1 is presenter. Index 2 is the episode. Right. So when we pull out this list, we want to just have these files. That way we can, oh sorry, it's my bad. It's the first element is presenter.py, then the episode. Right. So we want to be able to get all the episodes, and then we're going to have the beginner's programming title screen episode 8. That'll be first. Then we'll have the episode 8. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and pass in the file names. Let's go back to the Linux. And we're going to pass in the file names. So here we get the file names. Grab that slice. That should be all the files passing from command line. Get the file names. Pass it into the main function. We're going to go up to the main function. We're going to pass in the file names. All right, now we need to actually do something with them. And that's going to be building the multiplexer and dealing with that. Okay, how are we going to do this properly? So this guy, image will make that image. So these Baltic files, the difference is the font and all that stuff. I'm going to make a GUI element. Okay. We need to do this in a loop and stuff it into a list. All right. Okay. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to have a bunch of GUI elements. We're going to have a list. We're going to loop for each file name and the file names. We're going to break up the file names, so this is all the same logic. Cool. Also, if we have a problem loading or doing anything with a file, we should break out of this loop. Now, what the break does is it tells us that at this point we want to break out of this for loop and continue without processing any more of the loop. And it'll set running to false, it'll break, it'll go while running will be false, so this loop won't execute, and will fall through and quit with pygame.quit, which will clean up pygame, which is what we want. And now, this GUI element processing will do like before, like we did last episode. It'll either make a image or a text loader. However, what we want to do is we want to add to our GUI elements .append GUI element. Now, what this does is this will create a GUI element here and then add it to the GUI elements list. So once this loop is over, we should have a list of GUI elements. Then I'm going to create the multiplexer. Equals GUI multiplexer. Let's just say multiplex. And then we're going to pass in the screen. Does it need the screen? I don't necessarily think it needs the screen unless I want to move the creation logic inside of it. Let's just pass in the screen. The screen, it will take a position, and then it will take in the elements. So it's going to be GUI elements. Okay, and then we take the multiplexer, and we're going to draw the multiplexer. Multiplexer.draw. This will be multiplexer.update. Multiplexer.update. Save. Okay, now the only thing we need to do is the multiplexer logic. Create the multiplexer class. Oh yeah, one of the things that I should point out, well, this is not what I want to point out, but I'll say it now. The pass is, so Python, I like to use pass here to let Python know that this is just a stub at the moment, so if I would run the program, it wouldn't break from this. It's just one of those habits that I have to not like break it as we're doing stuff. Okay, so we need to do an init. Don't do an init based off of this. Init self, all this stuff. Need that. However, let me get rid of this one. Self.screen equals screen. Self.position equals position. Self.elements equals GUI elements. All right, now that we have something in the class, we get rid of that pass. Draw. So I will. Okay, so when we multiplex, we need an index. Let's just call index. That's going to be the only one. Cool. And then when we draw, we call self.elements of self.index.draw. The way we draw this is to call the draw on the previous one. Oh, good thing I have a screen here. And before we draw, we need to black out the screen. So self.screen.fill, I believe. And we just need to fill in with black, which is no red, no blue, and no green. Now, let me just make sure that it is fill. So I'm just doing an internet search for Pygame fill. So pygame.surface.fill will fill with a solid color.
There it is.
All right. Yep, that's what it is. Cool. Okay, so the idea is when we draw, and is self.updated, and we want to do the same kind of thing. Self.updated is true. Self.updated is false. So this will draw the element to the screen that we are multiplexing here. So we black out the screen. It'll then draw the element, and then we'll say we've been updated. So that's cool. Now we want update function here. Okay, so this is where we're going to check for keyboard space. So what we want to do is we want to see the key up like this. Is the key up and event.key equals Pygame dot, I think it's K space. Now you can just look this up on the internet, which is probably the smart way to do it, but I'm not going to do it the smart way. I am going to go to Python and import Pygame. Go Pygame dot K space. Is this defined? Yes, it's defined, so that should work. I just did that because I wanted to show an alternative way to figure it out. It's totally unnecessary to do it that way. Alright, let's go back to Emacs. Okay, so if we hit a space, we want to update the index if we haven't gotten past the number of elements. So if self.index is less than self-length self.elements minus 1. Check if we are less than the number of elements. That way we can update the index self.index equals 1. And we also want to say self.updated equals true. Okay, that should advance things. And you goodness. Now let's go ahead and try it out. And watch things crash and burn as usual. Okay, name position not defined. Brilliant! Okay, we'll do 0, 0. This probably isn't necessary at the moment. However, that could be useful later on, because we're not actually using it right now. This would be so we could move the multiplexer around and move the embedded elements around as well. But I'm not doing that at the moment. So let's go ahead and show what I actually did. It said position here of where the 0, 0s were. This said position. I just hard coded the 0, 0. Saved it out. Now let's go back to this guy. Okay, so we got the title screen. This is GUI multiplexing, and if I hit space, it should black it out and start the script for this episode. And it's blacked it out. Okay. Interesting. So why is this not working? Okay, let's go back to Emacs. So it printed the first thing just fine. And update. Oh, we need to update into. So this is just updating the multiplexer, but it's not calling into. Okay, yeah. So since we have elements within the multiplexer, we need to update into the object. So we need to call update on this as well. Event. So that should be good. Let's go back to the recall. See if that works out better. So there's the multiplexing space. Okay, so we got something. And now it's not doing anything. Cool. Oh, the draw needs to be. Oh wait, we did that. Yeah, we got that. Oh, we did something right at least. So go down here, draw it. We need to draw, and we call the draw function on it. Oh, I think I see. Okay. This doesn't manage its own draw state. It should be the elements underneath it that manage their draw states. Okay, so what I think is going on is the multiplexer didn't need to redraw itself, but the underlying screen, the text typer needed to update itself, needed to draw itself. So what we're going to do is not, well, what we're going to do is we're not going to check. The multiplexer will just draw the underlying elements, and the underlying elements will decide if they draw or not. So I'm getting rid of all of the draw checks on the multiplexer, and they're just passing them down to the elements that are children to them. That's probably a better name for the elements underneath them as well. Okay, so this is what it now looks like. So let's go ahead and try again. Okay, now that is not updating. Very strange. That we now have a problem drawing, even though, oh, it's filling. Okay, I see. So the issue is we need to update, but the update is on the fill. Updated. Then we fill. Updated. Those false. So only when we update do we blank out the screen. If we don't update, then we don't blank out the screen, but we want to draw the underlying elements. This way, when we switch screen, when we multiplex, we'll blank out the screen. That way, when we draw again, it will be the new thing. Otherwise, if we don't blank out, like if we don't do this, here, I'll show you actually. If we don't do this, what is, crap. Okay. I keep forgetting to switch things over again. All right, let's just go through this since I kind of did this without you seeing. What we're going to do is we're going to, when they hit the space key and we can advance the index, we're going to update the index and we're going to say we just updated ourselves. We're going to call the underlying update on the element that we're multiplexing to. So this is either the image or the text typer. And we're telling it to update itself. Here in the draw, we're saying just draw whatever element we're pointing to by the index. So whatever we're switched to, draw it. Now I'm going to show you what happens if we don't blank the screen first. Okay. So we have this, and then we hit space, you'll see that it's just overriding what's going on. Which makes sense because we didn't blank out the screen. But it actually seems to be working. So I think when we just blank out the screen, it looks good. So we do this. We see if we've been updated, fill the screen with black, and then say update is false. That way we don't keep filling the screen with black, erasing every single frame, which you saw earlier. Let's go ahead. Try this again, hit space, and then we have the text typer. This is exactly what I wanted to happen. Alrighty, and then space will do nothing because we don't have anything left. Perfect. We should be able to do this. So episode, let's say 7.txt. We have that. Let's go click on it, hit spacebar, and then we should have that. Hit space. Now, yeah, now it works. Now it looks great. All right, so that is some multiplexing of the underlying objects going on. We'll be able to do lots of things with this. You'll be able to do animation, you'll be able to do what I did, like switching up screens. There should be lots of utility that can go along with this. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.